Hello students, welcome to BAJIRAO IAS Academy. So, like every day, we will discuss some of the most important news articles in today's lecture as well. So, before proceeding into the discussion of today's most important news articles given in various newspapers, first let's discuss the yesterday given prelims practice question. The question is, with reference to Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, consider the following statement. This is also known as PM Jai, right? Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. So the first statement is Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana is world's largest health insurance assurance scheme fully financed by the government. Second statement, it provides a cover of 15 lakh per family per year for secondary and tertiary care hospitalization across public and private empaneled hospitals in India. Third statements, it covers up to 10 days of pre-hospitalization and 15 days of post-hospitalization expenses, such as diagnostics and medicine. See, the second statement, this is not 15 lakh, this is just a 5 lakh of insurance cover provided to per family per year for secondary and tertiary education. So therefore, the second statement is wrong. So if we eliminate the second statement in these options, we left with option B. So option B is the correct answer for this question. Okay, let's discuss this uh, regarding Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. So Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana is the world's largest health insurance scheme, right? It is fully financed by the government of India. So it provides a 5 lakh per family per year for secondary and tertiary care hospitalization across public and private empaneled hospitals. It is not just for the public hospitals or the government hospitals, it also includes few private hospitals. Over 10.7 crore people, especially the poor and vulnerable, have been given the insurance cover under the Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. So PM Jai provides cashless access to healthcare services for the beneficiary at the point of service, and that is hospital. The point of service is hospital, and this scheme provides cashless access to healthcare services. So, along with these provisions, this scheme envisions to help mitigate the catastrophic healthcare expenditure on various medical treatment, which pushes nearly 6 crore Indians into poverty each year. Because of high out-of-pocket expenditure, nearly 6 crore Indians they pushed into the poverty. So therefore, providing a comprehensive health insurance scheme will help reduce poverty as well and also improve individual health, right? So it covers up to 3 days of pre-hospitalization and 15 days of post-hospitalization expenses, uh, mainly for diagnostics and medicines. And there is no restrictions on the family size. For example, a family can have 5 individuals, 6 individuals. There is no restrictions on the family size, age, and gender of the family. All pre-existing conditions are covered from day one, right? So all the conditions will be covered from day one once they are enrolled under the scheme. So benefits of the scheme are portable across the country. So across the country, the benefits can be used by the beneficiary anywhere in any state, right, across the country. A beneficiary can visit an empaneled public or private hospital in India to avail the cashless treatment, right? So this is having a portability across the country. The services include approximately 1,393 procedures covering all cost related treatment. This includes this is not just include limited to this is not limited to drugs or supplies or diagnostic services, but it also covers physician fees, room charges, surgeons charges. So everything will be covered under Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, right? So public hospitals will be reimbursed for the healthcare services at par with the private hospitals as well. So public hospitals and private hospitals will be treated at par under the Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. See, this is the flagship health insurance scheme which was launched in India. So this scheme is very important for the exam, both prelims examination and mains examination as well. right? This is all about Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. So today, I'm giving you one question. Please answer this question and uh, write the correct answer in the comment section, right? So, to develop scientific temper, humanism, and spirit of inquiry and reform is a provision made under which of the following? A. Preamble of the Constitution, direct to principles of state policy, fundamental rights, and fundamental duties. Okay. So, please answer this question. So these are the list of important news articles for today's discussion. Uh, One is India should push for more pragmatic solution to the Ukraine conflict. We already know that Russia invaded Ukraine, and now Ukraine has been facing a worst crisis. Recently, Ukraine's deputy foreign minister visited India, and she also requested India to provide a place for Ukraine in India's G20 meeting. So therefore, this article is important to understand the present position of India over the conflict and what should be the India's future course of action. Right. So the next news article is rules for recognition as a national party. See, because of recent Karnataka polls, uh, Election Commission have revised the list of national parties. So therefore, according to newly released rules, there are six national parties, and Aam Aadmi Party also joined the list of national parties. So in this context, we will try and understand uh, the criteria for declaring a national party or the state party, and what are the benefits they'll enjoy. So Mudra loans. So Mudra loans are provided for the entrepreneurs, the small entrepreneurs especially. So how Mudra Yojana uh, would result in actual, a microfinance dissemination. And the fourth article is India signs MOU with World Food Program for sending wheat to Afghanistan. Right. So this is World Food Program. Afghanistan, since the Taliban takeover, has been facing worst humanitarian crisis, and India has been sending the food supplies to Afghanistan. So therefore, India and World Food Program have signed a memorandum of understanding to supply wheat to Afghanistan. So recently, some data on exports and imports also released by the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. So in this context, also we will understand uh, how exports or imports have been growing, right? So the first news article is about India's push for pragmatic solution to the Ukraine conflict, right? So we already know that Russia invaded Ukraine last year, February. So since then, Ukraine, with the help of West, led by US, fighting the Russian occupation. So therefore, Ukraine has also been asking for India's support against Russia. However, India and Russia have been maintaining strong bilateral relationship, and they also enjoy, uh, you know, uh, special defense partnerships. So, therefore, in this context, it is important to understand what is India's position on the current conflict, the current Ukraine conflict, and what should be the India's course of action. Because, especially in the context that India is now a president of the G20 grouping, and at the same time, this Shanghai Cooperation Organization grouping as well, right? So, Ukraine's deputy foreign minister, Emini Zaprova, visited India recently, right? So, she was a senior government officials, and this is the first time that any Eastern European country official visiting India since Russian invasion of Ukraine. However, the recent visit demonstrates that uh, Kiev is a capital of Ukraine. So Ukraine's desire to build a strong ties with New Delhi. So because if Ukraine seeks to build a strong ties with New Delhi, that will to some extent help in resolving the conflict. Because since India has been enjoying strong ties with Russia, that will be used or leveraged by India to compel Russia to end this conflict. So, however, Ukraine publicly expressed its displeasure because now India has been importing oil from Russia. So, in a way, it is said that importing of Russian oil is a blow to the Western sanctions imposed on Russia. So, therefore, Ukraine publicly expressed its displeasure over India's position on the war, right? Because very often India uh, did not take sides, not the Russian side or the Ukraine side, and not even condemned the invasion of Russia. So therefore, Ukraine expressed its displeasure over India's position. And in fact, Ukraine's foreign minister, Ms. Kuleba, says that uh, the energy purchases from Russia, India's energy purchases from Russia involve the Ukrainian blood. So these energy purchases have Ukrainian blood. So therefore, this is a strong comment, because of India's neutral position, and not even condemned the Russia's act of aggression or invasion. So therefore, Ukraine expects more practical support from New Delhi. So more practical support to end this conflict as early as possible, right? So Miss Japrova sounded more pragmatic. Pragmatic means more practical, right? Not idealistic, but more practical and realistic. She sounded more pragmatic in the sense that Ukraine did not want to instruct India on its energy and economic ties with other countries. So Ukraine never wanted to dictate the terms for India, whether India wanted to import the oil, or India wanted to strengthen its economic ties with any other countries. But Ukraine is now fighting an existential battle, right? So now uh, Ukrainian sovereignty and territorial integrity is at stake without a doubt. So therefore, she also emphasized that Ukraine is now fighting an existential battle. So therefore, India can play a larger role in resolving this conflict peacefully. However, this war, the Russia-Ukraine war, uh, left India in a very difficult position. Why in a very difficult position? Because there are two poles: the West, uh, led by US, and Russia. Now, India has been following the balancing act, balancing both Russia and the Europe as well, Europe and US as well. So, therefore, the war left India in a very difficult position because Russia is a historical partner, and India, in fact, have a very deep defense ties with Russia. So, therefore, it is not easy for India to immediately cut its relationship, or follow the Western sanctions imposed on Russia. And on the other hand, Russia's aggression, Russia's assertiveness have violated Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity along with international laws, right? So it is a clear violation of sovereignty, territorial integrity, and international laws. However, on the other hand, this war, since India did not openly condemn the war of Russia over Ukraine, its relationship, its ties with the Western partners are also complicated. For example, the transatlantic powers. There is an Atlantic Ocean, and east of Atlantic Ocean, Europe and US. So these countries are called as transatlantic powers. Okay, so these transatlantic powers, they are led by US. So they have launched an economic war, imposed economic sanctions on Russia, and in fact, India, along with most of the global South, they stayed away from following these sanctions the Western imposed sanctions. However, India has done to try and navigate this maze of geopolitical complexities, right? So India followed the realpolitik. Realpolitik means more practical and pragmatic approach, and that benefits the national interest, right? So India primarily looked at uh, the national interest rather than the idealism. So therefore, India tried to navigate this geopolitical complexities and geopolitical maze through real politics. If you are a political science and international relations optional student, the term real politic is very important for you. Okay, so however, as discussed earlier, India refused to condemn Russia and maintained defense and trade ties as usual, right? So even though the sanctions were imposed on Russia, India refused to condemn Russia and continued to maintain its defense and economic ties with Russia, as well as not just maintained the ties unilaterally, but India also expressed its uneasiness. India also uh, expressed the concerns that about the war, the ongoing war, and India also uh, reiterated not just at the political level, diplomatic level, even at the UN, respecting the territorial integrity of all nations is very important. So that primarily means that Russia should respect the sovereignty, territorial integrity, and international law, right? So therefore, India also makes it clear to Russia that respecting the sovereignty of other nations is also important. However, uh, because of the prolonged nature of the war, the balancing act could also be interpreted as an ineffectiveness, because the war has been taking place and India has not taken any measures uh, to either to end the conflict, to resolve the dispute, to compel either of the sides to end this war. So this largely shows the inactiveness on the part of India. So therefore, in fact, India is a chair to G20 and Shanghai Cooperation Organization. So therefore, there will be a greater responsibility on the part of India to show the global leadership and help end the war, because that will further uh, increases India's reputation, and it will also help improve India's relationship with the West and also with the uh, Russia. If India intervened and if India actively played a key role in resolving this conflict, right? Because this war is also responsible for a large scale energy crisis, food crisis throughout the world, and that led to the multiplier effect in the economies. So therefore it is important to end this war as quickly as early as possible, right? However, the conflict has hurt not only the Europe but entire world. So we already discussed how the conflict affected not only the Europe but also the entire world in terms of energy, in terms of food insecurity, and in terms of the growing levels of poverty. Because once the pandemic was coming to an end, the Russia-Ukraine war started. So it will be difficult for the global economy to recover, right? And along with that, the growing consensus among the countries, especially the global South, all the countries which are, you know, for example, the countries in Africa, South America, Asia. So all these countries are together called as Global South. So all these countries have the consensus that the hostilities should cease at the earliest, right? So recently, Brazil's president also visited China. So both China and Brazil have sensed the urgency to sees these conflict and also playing a bigger role brokering the peace deal between these two countries, right? However, India should not shy away from taking responsibilities, even if it is related to the resolving the conflicts between Russia and Ukraine. So, if India is shied of taking up responsibilities, that could be interpreted as uh, you know uh, inactiveness on the part of India. So therefore India should not shy away from taking responsibility, because New Delhi has a good ties with Moscow. India traditionally enjoy a very good relationship with Moscow, and Ukrainian deputy foreign ministers visit effectively suggesting that Ukraine is looking at India to play a larger role, especially in the peacemaking, right? So resolve the issue, resolve the dispute. However, India's policy towards conflict is rooted in its strategic neutrality. So India generally follows a policy of strategic neutrality, where India not take sides. Either it is the West or the Russia. India will not take any sides. India's policy is primarily guided by its national interest. So India's policy is primarily rooted in its strategic neutrality. But neutrality does not mean that doing nothing and just waiting for the conflict to end. Neutrality does not mean that waiting and watching for the conflict to end. So India should proactively take steps to prevent this conflict. However, the article suggesting that India should empathize more vocally with victim. Victim in this case is Ukraine. So empathize with the Ukraine and also raise the voice and interests of the global south. Earlier, we have discussed the global south largely developed a consensus to cease this conflict. So, therefore, India should become a voice of the global south and call for upholding international law and sovereignty of all states, that including Ukraine. So, and at the same time, India should push for pragmatic and permanent solution to the conflict. So, these are the suggestions given in this article. So, India should follow these measures. India should take up the responsibility. India should not show the inactivity to end this conflict. Right. So, this is the map of Russia and Ukraine. Please remember these two regions, Luhansk and Donetsk. So these two regions under the Chinese control as of now, right? So these two regions are very important, Luhansk and Donetsk. You very often also hear about the Mariupol. Mariupol is also a city in Ukraine, right? And Mariupol is also attacked by Russian forces. This is a Sea of Azov, and Sea of Azov is connected with the Black Sea through Kerch Strait. So just also remember the geography of the region. So through Kerch Strait, Sea of Azov is connected with the Black Sea. And this is Crimea, and the Crimea is annexed by Russia in the year 2014. Now it is under the Russian occupation, right? So these are important geographical locations when it comes to the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Uh, just remember them. Okay, fine. So the next important news article is regarding the rules of recognition as a national party. See, we have already discussed that uh, there has been recently Election Commission of India have revised or come up with uh, a new list of national parties and state parties. So, in the list of national parties, Aam Aadmi Party is also become a part of a list of national parties. So, in this context, we will look into the criteria of declaring a particular political party as a national party and state party, and what are the benefits generally being provided to the recognized political parties. See, especially for the prelims examination point of view, it is important that in prelims you may get the question that which of the following are the criteria to recognize a political party as a national party. So therefore, please understand this criteria and also benefits being provided to such parties. We discussed that election commission recently reviews the poll performance, right? So the poll performance of recognized parties in India, the general elections and elections to state legislative assemblies takes place once in 5 years. Okay, so after the election commission of India reviews the poll performance of various recognized political parties. Okay, so after taking into consideration the poll performance of the recognized political parties, either they will be excluded from the recognition of national parties, or they will be included. It is solely based on the performance, the poll performance of recognized political parties. However, the rules for the recognition of national parties are specified under para 6b of the election symbols reservation and allotment rules 1968. So you should also remember this particular order, the election symbols reservation and allotment order 1968 empowers the election commission of India to provide a particular party a national party status or the state party status. Okay, so however, the recognition of a state party, the criteria is it should secure at least 6% of valid votes polled and 2 seats of assembly or 1 seat in Lok Sabha. So this is one criteria for declaring a particular political party as a state party. However, this is these 3 points are the summary of the whole article, right? So the recognized political parties, they enjoy various privileges, such as they have a reserved party symbol. So they have only one symbol across the country for recognized political parties, and also they also uh, given time for the free broadcast in state-run television or radio channels. And at the same time, they will be consulted in setting election dates also, and giving input in setting electoral rules and regulations. If election commission is coming up with any new electoral rules or regulations, these parties will be informed by the election commission of India. Along with it, consultations will also be done by the election commission with these recognized political parties. So see, these are the some of the advantages of a particular party being recognized as a national party or the state party. So how does a party recognized as a national party? See, this is the criteria for a particular party to be declared as a national party. So please carefully understand the criteria. So the election commission reviews the poll performance of the political parties, the recognized political parties after general election and state legislative assembly elections. So we already discussed that the election symbols reservation and allotment order 1968 empowers the election commission. However, the party becomes eligible to be accorded national status if it manages to fulfill one of the following conditions. So these are 3 conditions. If a particular political party fulfills any of these conditions, that political party will be declared as a national party. So the first criteria is if it is recognized as a state party in 4 or more states. So in every state there are multiple political parties, right? So one single political party is recognized as a state party in 4 or more states, then that party will be recognized as a national party. And what is the second criteria? The second criteria is if a political party secures 6% of valid votes polled in 4 states in the Lok Sabha or assembly elections. And in addition, it should get 4 seats or 4 members to the Lok Sabha. So the criteria is first 6% of valid votes polled, and the second criteria is uh, four in 4 states and 4 seats in the Lok Sabha. So this is the second criteria, and third criteria is if it wins 2%, that is 11 seats out of 543 seats. If a particular political party have won 2% of seats in the Lok Sabha from at least 3 states. So this is the third criteria to be uh, eligible for the national party status. So this is all the criteria of a particular party being declared as a national party. So along with that, we should also understand the criteria for declaring a particular party as a state party. So the criteria is that so it has to secure at least 6% of valid votes polled and two two seats in assembly or one Lok Sabha poll. Either 2 seats, 6% of valid votes, plus 2 seats in the assembly or 1 seat in Lok Sabha. So either of which. However, there are other alternatives also for declaring a particular party as a state party. So what are those alternatives? The alternatives include in the general election or legislative assembly election, a party has to win 3% of seats. Okay, so if it wins the 3% of seats in the legislative assembly, then this party will be declared as a state party. Secondly, a party has to win one Lok Sabha seat for every 25 Lok Sabha seats allotted for the state. So then also this party will be declared as a state party. So if a state has 50 Lok Sabha seats, okay, so if a state has a 50 Lok Sabha seats, then a particular party must win at least 2 Lok Sabha seats to be declared as a state party. And the third criteria is the party has to poll 8% of valid votes in the state. Even if the party gets 8% of total polled votes, then also the party will be declared as the state party. So these are all the 3 criteria for declaring a party as a national party. So please remember this as well. However, just look into the benefits of recognizing national party or state party. So these parties enjoy a set of privileges once they are declared as national parties or state parties. So what are those privileges? They get a reserved party symbol and free broadcast time in the state television and radio also. Earlier, we have already discussed that Election Commission consults these political parties before deciding the election dates, and also Election Commission gives key inputs regarding the rules and regulations regarding the elections. Okay. However, if a particular political party not recognized as a state party or the national party, then the presiding officer of each constituency, there are 2 officers. One is presiding officer and the other officer is the returning officer, right? So presiding officer generally heads the polling booth and the returning officer heads the constituency. Okay, so just returning officer allocate the symbol if a particular political party is not a recognized political party, right? So therefore, these are the advantages of a recognized political party and non-recognized political party. And we also looked into the criteria of declaring a particular political party as a national party and state party. Okay, just remember the criteria and the advantages being provided to these parties. Okay, the next news article is about Mudra loans. So, see, Mudra loans, this is a microfinance scheme. So, this scheme is very important for the prelims examination point of view, right? Because it provides microfinance to, uh, a small individual, small entrepreneurs. especially in the MSME sector, below the MSME sector, or self-employed individuals. They provide loans up to 10 lakh rupees. So recent data says that uh, a 23 lakh crore worth of bank guarantee loans were granted to women beneficiaries. So women beneficiaries were given 23 lakh crore worth of bank guarantee free loans. So bank guarantee free means no collateral required in this case, in the case of Mudra loans. However, so more than 70 percentage of beneficiaries are women. So this facilitating women to start new and new entrepreneur, uh, they become entrepreneurs and they become financially empowered, financially independent. So that led to the women empowerment as well. So therefore, Mudra scheme has been empowering women by providing them with microcredit. Okay, so this scheme has created 8 crore new entrepreneurs. So they have started a small scale business, a small units in different parts of the country. Total 8 crore new entrepreneurs were created by the Mudra scheme. And the people who have started their business for the first time with the help of Mudra. Several individuals have started their businesses for the first time with the help of the Mudra loans, right? And the power of microfinance energizing the economy at the grassroots level. See, microfinance is very important to for the economic activity and promoting the entrepreneurship in the economy, especially at the grassroots level, because it also contributing for the empowerment of women. So therefore, the power, the energy of the potential of microfinance in empowering individuals, providing them the livelihoods, sustainable livelihoods, especially at the grassroots levels, particularly laudable, right? So in this context, let's just understand what is Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana. In fact, Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana launched in year 2015-16 in a budget speech, right? So the full meaning of Mudra Bank is that micro units development and refinance agency. So this is the definition of Mudra Bank. So this is just provides refinancing. Refinancing means the Mudra Bank directly not give loans to the beneficiaries. Rather, Mudra Bank provide loans to the banks. So in turn, banks will provide loans to the beneficiaries, intended beneficiaries. So the Mudra Bank only provides refinancing facilities. The corpus of the Mudra Bank is 20,000 crore and the credit guarantee corpus is 3,000 crore. Okay, just remember it is a refinance agency and the corpus of the Mudra Bank is 20,000 crore rupees. However, the Mudra Bank is set up through a statutory enactment. Statutory enactment means it was set up through an act of parliament, and it is responsible for developing and refinancing all microfinance institutions. So it develops and refinances all microfinance institutions in our country. So businesses of lending micro small business entities engaged in manufacturing, trading, service activities through Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana. So it benefits manufacturing, services, and trading activities, people who engaged in these activities. So this is all about the Mudra Yojana scheme. And apart from this, we also look at other provisions of the Mudra Yojana, right? So the Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana, it provide loans up to 10 lakh rupees, right? So the maximum limit of loan provided under Mudra loan scheme is 10 lakh rupees, right? This is extended by member lending institutions. For example, what are the member lending institutions? Commercial banks, regional rural banks, small finance banks, non-banking financial companies, and microfinance institutions, not the Mudra Bank, right? Mudra Bank is just a refinancing agency. So loans provided in three categories. What are the three categories? Also remember three categories. These categories are also very important. Shishu, the first category, Kishore, and Tarun, the last category. So which signifies the stage of a growth of development and funding needs of borrowers. So Shishu is at the nascent stage, and Kishore is at the middle stage, and Tarun is at the matured stage. Okay, so they're covering loans up to 50,000 and 50,000 to 5 lakh in the second phase, and Tarun stage it covers loans from 5 lakh to 10 lakh. Okay, so these are the agencies, these are the lending agencies. Okay, these are multilateral lending agencies. This is all about the Mudra scheme. Just remember the Mudra scheme and when it was introduced, and it is a refinancing bank. And what are the three stages in the Mudra bank? Shishu, Kishore, and Tarun, and the maximum limit of loan provided under Mudra scheme. Okay. So the next news article is about India recently signed an MOU with the World Food Program for sending wheat to Afghanistan. See, I am covering all the important news articles which are important for the examination point of view. Okay, so just follow these news articles. That will be more than enough because I am covering everything related to that news articles. Okay, so India recently signed a memorandum of understanding to provide food grains to Afghanistan under the uh, World Food Program, right? Because once the government, the democratically established government, was overthrown in Afghanistan and Taliban came to power, uh, uh, there has been a worst humanitarian crisis, lack of food, and the minority rights, women rights, and rights of children are violated under the Taliban regime, as usual. So therefore, India constantly maintains a very good and close relationship with Afghanistan, and India also enjoying a huge soft power in Afghanistan. So, especially uh, among the people of Afghanistan. So, therefore, it is a concern. It is a concern for India if Afghanistan is facing humanitarian crisis. So, along with that, India has also invested in Afghanistan in various developmental projects, the high community impact projects. So, therefore, India continues to provide aid to Afghanistan. In recent budget, also India announced around 200 crores as an aid to Afghanistan, right? This is a developmental aid provided to Afghanistan. So this memorandum of understanding signed between India and the World Food Program is to supply 10,000 tons of wheat for the people of Afghanistan. India already sent 50,000 tons of wheat to Afghanistan. Once through Pakistan and other through the Chabahar port. We'll look into that also. What is the Chabahar port, where it is located, and all. However, this memorandum of understanding was signed by the Minister of External Affairs and representative of World Food Program. And World Food Program says it has the required infrastructure on ground to ensure speedy delivery of wheat to the most vulnerable sections in Afghanistan. So all the distribution of wheat will be looked after by World Food Program. So first look at World Food Program. What is the World Food Program? So the World Food Program is the food assistance branch of the United Nations. It provides food assistance in the conflict areas, especially people who are suffering with hunger, malnutrition. World Food Program intervenes and it provides food assistance to those countries. So both Food and Agricultural Organization and United Nations General Assembly founded the World Food Program in the year 1961. Just remember when the World Food Program was formed and what are the agencies involved in the establishing, in the founding of uh, World Food Program. Okay, what is the aim of the World Food Program? The aim is eradicate hunger and malnutrition. The ultimate goal is eliminating the need for food and aid itself. So, eliminating food and aid itself is the aim of the World Food Program. In fact, the Sustainable Development Goal number 2 says uh, um, for hunger should be eliminated anywhere in any form. Okay, and what is the significance of World Food Program? The significance is that it is a member of United Nations Development Group and part of an executive committee. So member countries of the World Food Program include, there is an executive board and that consists 36 state members, and the board provides intergovernmental support, policy direction and supervision activities to World Food Program. Okay, so the funding, the source of funding for the World Food Program is voluntary donations from the world governments, corporations, and private donors. So it entirely based on the voluntary donations. It also received a Nobel Peace Prize in the year 2020 for its services. Just remember these. It is winning a Nobel Prize in the year 2020, Nobel Peace Prize for its contribution in combating hunger, and also the aim of this organization and also the agencies involved in formation of this organization. So for the prelims exam point of view, World Food Program is also a very important. Now, this is how India invested in Afghanistan in various developmental projects. So when it comes to infrastructure, India built Jaranj and Dilaram Highway. This is to help the faster movement of goods and services to Iran border. From Afghanistan to Iran border, there will be a faster movement of goods and services through Jaranj and Dilaram Highway, right? And India also built 220 kV DC transmission line from Pul-e-Kumri to Kabul, right? So electricity front also, India significantly contributed for the infrastructure development in Afghanistan. And India built new India-Afghanistan Friendship Dam. This is otherwise called as Salma Dam. So apart from this, India also constructed new Afghan parliament building. So these are the infrastructure projects undertaken by India in Afghanistan. The humanitarian assistance. The humanitarian assistance includes supply of 1.1 million metric tons of wheat to Afghanistan. As of now, India supplied 1.1 million tons of wheat to Afghanistan. And the Indira Gandhi Institute of Child Health, that this was a 400-bed hospital that caters to the welfare or well-being of children from all across the country. So India built a hospital. India supplied 1.1 million tons of wheat to Afghanistan, and India also built several infrastructure development projects. So these are considered as a 5 pillars that drive India's development partnership within Afghanistan. India, in terms of connectivity, India built the Chabaha port development. Chabaha port is located in Iran. So there is a direct freight corridor between India and Afghanistan, and that was established in the year 2017. So private investments into Afghanistan, such as India-Afghanistan Trade and Investment Show, started in the year 2017 in terms of economic development pillar. And 116 new high impact community development projects in 31 provinces. Community development projects include like building housing projects, education, healthcare centers, right? So all these include high impact community development projects. The fifth and the last pillar between India and Afghanistan relations is capacity building of Afghan forces or the Afghan people. So more than 3,500 Afghans are undergoing training programs in India, right? And 1,000 scholarships are announced by India for Afghan nationals. This is under Indian Council for Cultural Relations. Under the Indian Council of Cultural Relations, 1,000 scholarships are announced to the Afghan nationals, and 500 Indian technical and economic cooperation slots for Afghanistan annually to strengthen administration and governance in Afghanistan. So all these initiatives or the measures on the part of India-Afghanistan relations are 5 pillars of India's engagement with Afghanistan. So now just look at the Chabahar port. This is the location of Afghanistan. Afghanistan share its boundary with India, right? Afghanistan share its boundary with India, and this is Chabaha port. It is located in India. This port is constructed by India to improve its connectivity with Afghanistan and the Central Asian republics. Okay, and Chabaha port is very close to the Gwadar port. This port is developed by China as part of China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. Okay, so this is all about the India-Afghanistan relationship and the humanitarian aid and assistance provided by India to Afghanistan. So the next news article is that this is about India's export. There's a slump in India's exports, and there has been a growth on India's imports. This says that goods exports grow 6% and imports to 16.5%. So this says that in the year 2022-23, both goods and exports have grown. However, the exports of goods and imports have grown. However, the increase of exports is minute compared to the imports. So therefore, in this context, let's try and understand this article first. So India's goods exports declined for the second successive month also. Now India's goods exports have been on decline. So it can be assumed to multiple reasons. One is the global growth slowdown, the protectionist tendencies in different parts, and also the COVID fears and Russia-Ukraine tensions. All these factors led to the lower global demand. So lower global demand translates into lower export growth. Okay, so it is falling sharp to 30.9%, amounts to $38.38 billion. However, imports dipped to 7.9%. So India's imports from other countries also dipped to 7.9%, valued at 58 billion. However, the total exports in the year 22-23 rose to 6% and valued at 447 billion. However, the imports have seen a steeper rise of 16.5%, valued at 714 billion in the year 2022 and 23. So the goods trade deficit rose almost 40%. So what is a trade deficit? A trade deficit is a difference between exports and imports, right? So if a country has been exporting less and importing more, then the country will have a trade deficit. In contrast to the trade deficit, if a country exporting more and importing less, the country will have a trade surplus. Okay, you just understand the difference between trade deficit and trade surplus. However, now India has overall trade deficit of 40%. Okay, so this is around $266 billion compared to $190 billion in the year 21-22. However, the data on the service exports is not yet released, but overall total deficit will be around 122 billion. This is 46% higher than the 83.5 billion gap. This was in 21-22. However, despite having a global headwinds, India achieved $750 billion target. This is the target of 2022 and 23. Despite global headwinds and low global economic growth and lower demand, India achieved its target of uh, achieving a $750 billion of export, and the exports hit even 770 billion. So therefore, it is 94 billion higher than the last year records exports. So there, India has been experiencing an increase in the overall exports also. So India achieved the $750 billion of exports in this fiscal year. However, within exports, oil and electronics, they are in the lead, right? Because the oil exports itself constitute 27 percentage or 94.5 billion of overall exports. See, even though we dependent on 85 percentage of our energy needs on imports, we have a strong refineries, we have a strong refinery capabilities. So therefore we import crude oil, and then the finished products would be sold to other countries. So therefore India's exports, the major chunk of India's exports also constitute oil and electronics. Electronics is the second largest after oil, and it contributes to 23.5 billion. However, the top five the export segments in India, one is oil, second is electronics, and third is rice, and fourth chemicals, and drugs and pharmaceutical occupies the fifth position. There may be chances that in UPSC prelims you may get the question that arrange them, as per the value of export, the top five. So they therefore just remember these categories: oil, electronics, rice, chemicals, drugs, and pharmaceuticals. And petroleum exports accounting for 21.1 percentage of total exports, a lion's share of total exports. Okay, and engineering goods, India's mainstay in goods exports, in recent years, they also shrank 5.1 percentage. So these all numbers are not important. Just remember this: the export and the categories within the export, the top five categories within the export, and India's target of achieving $750 billion export. Okay, so in this context, let's try and understand what is a trade deficit. See, in this case, you can see a country have a more imports. The country importing more, the weight of imports is more than the exports, right? So this indicates that exports are less and imports are more. So this indicates trade deficit. Okay, so this indicates trade deficit. On the other hand, if a country have more exports, excuse me, if a country have more exports and less imports, then the country will experience trade surplus. I hope you understood the concept of trade deficit and trade surplus. Just remember this diagram. Okay. And what are the causes of current account deficit? So there is a two accounts within the uh, balance of payments. So one is current account deficit, one is current account, and the other is capital account. So current account records all the exports and imports. So there are different causes for the deficit, the current account deficit, that is CAD, the current account deficit. The current account deficit also uh, forms when a country imports more than its exports. The reasons are underinvestment, lower investment levels, and relatively lower productivity in the economy, persistently high relative inflation. If a country have a higher relative inflation, then the country's production will reduce, and country have to import from other nations. So therefore, that will also increase imports. And if a country have inadequate R&D, inadequate innovation, technology, then also the country's productivity will reduce. When country's production or productivity reduces, country's export capabilities would also be compromised. So emergence of lower cost competition. So lower cost competition is also one factor in increasing current account deficit. So these are all the structural factors in causes of current account deficit. So there are cyclical factors also, right? So they are repeated factors. Cyclical factors are, so they are overvalued exchange rate and boom in domestic demand. See, for example, currency is overvalued, so exchange rate is overvalued, then appreciation of currency would not be in the best interest of exporters. If currency depreciates, they get more. The exports will get incentivized. However, overvalued exchange rate, in fact, benefits the imports. So therefore, the economy will look for importing more and more goods. And boom in domestic demand, recession in key export markets, slump in global prices of exports, and increased demand for imported energy. So these are some factors which leads to the increased levels of current account deficit. So overall, these are all the important articles given in the today's newspapers. And thank you.